Give me a minute. So, Silence. Martin Scorsese's newest film. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Saw it at like 9:30 p.m. in a little like art house theater. Fucking what's it called? Arbor. Regal Arbor up north in Austin. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Saw it at like 9:30. Okay, so the plot of Silence is Liam Neeson goes missing. He's a priest, Jesuit priest in the 16th century. He's been in Japan missionarying, trying to spread Catholicism and Christianity, which is illegal. So he's gone missing for years. And his two students, I suppose, who've also become priests themselves, Andrew Garfield, who is in Hacksaw Ridge, and he was the Spider-Man in Social Network, and Adam Driver, who was fucking Ben Kenobi. That's wrong. Ben Solo, fucking Kylo Ren from Force Awakens, and of course he's Adam on Girls. Those two dudes are Liam Neeson's students who are in Italy, or not Italy, they're in Portugal, and they decide to go to Japan. Essentially, they'd be the last two priests in Japan. They decide to go to Japan to see if they can track down their teacher, because rumors have spread that their teacher, Liam Neeson, has denounced Christianity, denounced the faith, and is living in Japan with a wife and kids, and is actively helping the Inquisitor of Japan to root out Catholics and Christians, who are being murdered, by the way. That's the plot. Not a happy film. Now, is it bad? Absolutely not. In fact, I've only seen it once. In fact, it may be a fucking masterpiece. Possibly. It is gorgeous. Oscar nominations came out recently. It was only nominated for one, Best Cinematography, which fucking A, absolutely gorgeous. This was Scorsese's return to film, actual like film, as opposed to digital. He shot, I think, almost all of The Wolf of Wall Street digitally because it was cheaper and faster. And he shot most of Hugo, I want to say, digitally because it was 3D. So this is a return to shooting completely on 35mm film, and it is glorious. It's just shadows and landscape and steam and fog and fire and excruciatingly tight close-ups of fucking harrowed, haggard, beaten down faces. It is an unpleasant experience, but that's the point. I don't even know how to review this fucking thing. Okay. If you are not Christian, if you don't have any faith, if you're put off by the idea of stories about faith, but you're still a cinema person, don't avoid the movie. For my money, it didn't feel like a Christianity propaganda type of thing. Granted, the characters are Christian, and the story, ultimately, is less about tracking down Liam Neeson, and more about how long can Andrew Garfield hold on to his faith against the harshest persecution you can possibly fucking imagine. That's the story. Now, I have Christian faith, I grew up in it, I believe in God, and I'm the dude who was like, in the movie, I was like, by the hour and a half mark, I was like, dude, people are dying. People are getting boiled alive. People are being crucified in the ocean. Just say you don't believe in God so you can save some fucking lives. So even as someone who believes in God, however, you are sort of still rooting for Andrew Garfield because it's the 16th century. He's a priest. That's all he has. That's the only thing he has is his faith. And he has seen that it's done good for people in Japan. He's seen people who have found joy in the world. Not joy, but light in the darkness. Because even if you're a Christian or not, it's 16th century Japan. Unless you are part of the fucking royalty, your life sucks. If you're a peasant in Japan, it's terrible. And people have found a form of salvation on Earth because of what he has been managed to teach them. So, you don't want him to give up his faith, but you're desperately wanting him to give up his fucking faith. Or at least say he's giving up his faith. So, if you are not a Christian, if you don't have any faith, you're an atheist, either a staunch atheist where you're like, fuck everybody who believes in God, or if you're just an atheist who's like, I don't care, don't be put off by the subject matter. it's not, it's not trying to jam faith down your throat. It's just a story about somebody who is holding on to their faith. If you are a person of faith, be prepared to be very moved. It'll fuck with you a little bit. It'll make you question things. It will make you question how much faith you really have. It'll make you question to what length you would go to defend your own beliefs. It'll push you places. It's a pretty brilliant film. If you have not seen Scorsese's other Christian movie, Last Temptation of Christ, maybe check that out first before you delve into Silence. Last Temptation of Christ is also a long movie. It's out on Criterion Collection, which means I'm sure you can watch it on Hulu. It's also a long movie, but that one, to be fair, that one at least has a pretty sprawling cast. Willem Dafoe is in it. Fucking Harvey Keitel, a bunch of fucking 70s actors. And it does tell a story. So while it's long, excuse me, I burped. While it's long, there are still, it's a story being told, and eventually it's going to lead to fucking, how all those movies end. Him on the fucking cross. So if you're curious about how Scorsese treats faith, belief, religion, Christianity in particular, on film, maybe check that out first. Enough of all that, let's talk about Silence. So the opening of this fucking movie is Liam Neeson on his knees, haggard, dirty, fucked up. Looks like he's been beaten, has maybe eaten fucking weeks. He's on his knees at these hot springs in Japan, natural hot springs. And again, the opening shot is just gorgeous. It's these craggy fucking rocks, this massive wide shot of a landscape, and all you can see is steam. And as the steam is fading and moving through the frame, you see that there's soldiers all on the hills in the background, and there are Christians tied to fucking rocks, and the frame just hold on that shot for a while, and more detail. It's like a painting. It's fucking gorgeous. What's going on is Liam Neeson is watching his fellow priests who are in Japan. He's watching them be tortured to death, because what the Japanese are doing, it's illegal to practice Christianity, it's illegal to be a Christian in Japan, and it's punishable by death to be a Christian. So what the High Inquisitor and his men are doing is they have tied up the priests, his fellow priests, they've tied them up to sticks, to posts, and they've got ladles with holes drilled in them, so a big spoon with fucking holes. And what they're doing is they're taking a spoonful of boiling water and drizzling it on their chests and on their faces and on their legs. And they're going to do that until they either renounce their faith or until they die. And it doesn't go quickly. I don't know if you knew this or not, but being boiled alive by sprinkling of water takes a while. The narration kicks in. The priests who are being tortured volunteered because they wanted to show the powers that be in Japan that Christianity, or that faith, is so strong that they're not going to be moved by torture. In fact, it's almost an honor for them to be tortured in the same way that people's faiths were tested in the Bible, like Meshach, Reshach, and Abednego. Don't know their names. The dudes of the fire who didn't get burned. So for the priests being tortured, they volunteered for it in order to keep their leader alive, Liam Neeson, and because they see it as an honor to have their faith tested. That's just the opening 2 minutes. This movie has no score. It is dry as fuck. It's called Silence for a reason. It's all chirping bugs and wind rustling and water and waves relentlessly lapping against a craggy, rocky coast. It's babbling brooks. It is, this movie, aside from the fact of being a long, arduous, painful story about people being tortured and one man being pushed to his limits, it's also kind of fucked up and weird in the way Apocalypse Now is. You feel it's not a psychedelic movie. It's all filmed very straightforwardly, but it starts to fuck with you after a while. You start to just feel exhausted. And you ever been awake for 2 days straight? So you're tired, but you're also wired at the same time because your brain has been feeding so many fucking chemicals into it. That's what this makes you feel like. You're just it's tense and wiry and ugh. Okay, so Wolf of Wall Street, which I loved, saw that in theaters. That movie's 3 hours long. And at the end of that movie, I wasn't cracking my neck and my back and doing this kind of stuff. I was just enjoying the movie. This one is 2 hours, or 20 minutes shorter, and I was the whole last act, I was just uncomfortable in my chair. It just makes you uncomfortable, and it takes you into a place where you just like want, it's relentless in a weird, slow-paced way. It's a relentless movie. As far as things that are amazing about it, Andrew Garfield gives the best performance of the year that I've seen so far. His best of his career as well. It is crazy how good Andrew Garfield is in this movie. In moments where he has to speak Latin, in moments where he's doing very physically arduous stuff like hiking along fucking Japan, in moments where he's has to go to every emotional level of exhaustion and physical exhaustion, in moments of just like being alone in a cage by himself and like he's just desperately trying to hear God. He's fucking amazing in this movie. Adam Driver is good, not into it so much, but he's great as well. It only nominated for cinematography for some reason. They only gave it a cinematography nod. They absolutely should have given it a production design nod, because that doesn't exist anymore. Every time, like, it's very much we're on a journey type of movie. We're heading towards Shinjuku. They kind of say that early on. So it's sort of like chapters in a story. It's sort of like, we're going to hang out here for a bit, and we're going to go over here for a bit. It's not meandery. It's just like there's a word I'm looking for and I can't find it. But the point is, every new big place, this new set, like they had to build that set, and it feels so real and so lived in. It's world building, is what Brad Jones said in his review. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, go check out the Midnight Screenings review of Suicide Squad. He fucking loved it. Made his top 10 of the year. I think like number 3. So it is gorgeous to look at. The cinematography and the production design are fantastic. The costume design is pretty great. The sound design is fucking creepy. And yeah, it's a hell of a thing. I would also give it an editing nod, because at 2 hours and 40 minutes, it is deliberately paced, but it's never boring. It's captivating. It's fucking riveting the entire time. It takes its time. It's a slow movie, but yeah, like honestly, as I said it earlier, Apocalypse Now is kind of the best thing I can think of. Apocalypse Now and fucking Last Temptation of Christ. Like long movies vignettes, that's what I'm saying. Long movies made up of vignettes. In the same way Apocalypse Now is like, we're going to hang out in Saigon for a bit, and then we're going to hang out with the fucking surfer napalm assholes for a while, and then we're going to go down the river and hang out at the fucking Playboy thing. This movie is that kind of thing. It takes fucking forever, but it's never boring. And it's made up of vignettes of like introductory shit. Liam Neeson being tortured. Then we meet Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver, and they go to China, and they have to get smuggled into Japan, and then that's a whole fucking arduous in the ocean process, and they make it to Japan, and they find this little ass village who could not be more pleased, and like they revere these priests for coming because they're Catholics, and their priest was killed or scared away. So these Catholics in Japan, these Japanese people, these peasants who are Catholics in secret, they haven't been able to confess. They haven't been able to have fellowship together. They haven't been able to baptize their newborn babies. So seeing these priests is like, they're just so overjoyed to have men who can lead them again. It's moving stuff, and they hang out in that village for a while, and then they go to the next thing, and then they get captured, and we're in a fucking prison for a bit, and like it's very vignette-y, but it is relentlessly difficult. It's a parable kind of film, I think. There is a character who shows up. He's the first Japanese person they meet. He's living in China. He's going to be their guide in Japan, and what happened was, and they show it in excruciating fucking detail, his whole family was fucking burned alive because they wouldn't renounce their faith. He did renounce his faith, and he feels fucking horribly guilty about it. So throughout the movie, he goes to Andrew Garfield, begs for forgiveness, confesses, is absolved, and then almost immediately fucks everybody over again. Not because he's like working for the Inquisitor, but because he's just a coward. And like, the way it works is this. They get a bunch of suspected Christians. The Inquisitor will show up in a village, get a bunch of suspected Christians around. Then they'll pull out like a metal plate of Jesus' face, or the baby, the Virgin Mother holding the baby Jesus, and they'll force people to step on it. And if you don't step on it, something fucking terrible is going to happen to you. And every single time, the dude, their guide, fucking steps on it, runs off, and then shows up 30 minutes later begging to be forgiven, begging to be absolved, and wanting to be a part of the faith again. Including, like, he ran into a fucking prison. Andrew Garfield's in a fucking cage. He ran into a prison. Father, 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 please forgive me. Like, he chose to be in a prison and be forgiven. Not because he's scared of hell, but because he wants to be a good person. Because he's so fucking It's not a pleasant movie. So, they boil Christians alive a little bit at a time by sprinkling boiling fucking water on them. They burn Christians alive by rolling them in straw mats and throwing them on a fucking bonfire. They burn Christians at the stake. They drown Christians. One of the most fucking relentless scenes. It felt like something out of like Tarkovsky or Jesus, I don't even know. Like directors who use long takes to make you feel the way. Like 12 Years a Slave. Remember the scene in 12 Years a Slave where they hang him? They hang Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he just fucking dangles there for like 12 minutes. His feet are just kind of barely touching the ground. He's trying to stay alive. Scenes like that. So they take these Christians they've hidden the priests who are hiding out in fucking woods in the jungle watching what's going on. They refuse to renounce their faith, and they refuse to admit that there are priests in the village, and they refuse to tell them where the priests are. So they're all put on crosses, and they're not nailed in, they're tied to crosses. 3 dudes. And they're put out by this massive fucking cliff in the ocean, and they're put out at low tide. So, as the waves come in, they're just fucking brutally just being hit in the chest and the body, just smashed with fucking ocean water. It's going over their heads, and they're just like, ugh. It is fucking horrendous. And if you know anything about the story of Christ and the 3 dudes who are up on Golgotha, the hill, there are lots of moments that directly feel like they reference the Bible, including who dies when, how in that sequence. It took 3 days for the fucker to die, and like at the end, he just fucking like sings a psalm and is like he looks over at this man who finally just gives up and like just prays and says like a long. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know all the terminology. It's powerful to see somebody hold on to something that matters to them. In this day and age of like hashtag Christianity or fucking whatever, in this day and age where it's so easy to fucking believe whatever we want to believe, to say whatever we want to say, for the most part, it is fucking harrowing to imagine what it must have been like back then, in that country, in those situations. If you've ever seen Kurosawa movies, particularly the longer ones like Seven Samurai or Redbeard or Ron or Kagemusha, it feels a bit like that. The cinematography feels a bit like that. The pacing feels that way. The storytelling, the use of like a narrator coming in just when you kind of feel like you're feeling a little bit lost in the story, a narrator will come in and explain what the fuck's going on. Andrew Garfield is part narrator in the movie. We also just get like a narrator of sorts. It's very novelistic. It's a very novelistic form of filmmaking, but it's also very much Scorsese. There are some fucking Steadicam shots in this movie that are better than anything in Goodfellas or Casino. It's just instead of being set in, a nightclub in New York in the 50s, it's in Japan in the rain in a shitty village, and instead of like a cool fucking doo-wop song playing, all you hear is rain and crying. But like the fucking camera work is gorgeous. When it's nighttime, it feels like they use natural lighting the whole movie, so it's just torches and candles. It's pretty fucking astounding. So the movie's called Silence. What does that mean? And I wasn't sure going in. It was I figured it out pretty quick. Well, not quick. It felt quick, but it was probably like an hour into the movie. What Silence is, the silence of the title. Well, I guess there's open interpretations to it. To me, the silence of the title was this. Andrew Garfield, in moments towards, the end where he's fucking losing it. He can't fucking do it anymore. He just can't anymore. He has been praying to God the whole movie. And sometimes it's out loud, sometimes you hear his thoughts, his prayers. And God, of course, doesn't talk back. And that's something a lot of Christians deal with, and how arrogant of us to assume he would deign to speak to just some lowly priest, right? Like, he's not a prophet, blah, blah, blah. But as things get worse and worse, as more people fucking die, That's when people are tortured. I forgot to mention. Oh yeah. Anyway, I'll get to the torture part in a second. As horrible things get worse and worse, the silence of God, the fact that he can't fucking hear a single word of peace or of encouragement or anything, is driving him absolutely fucking insane. That's what silence is. It's the silence that we all who practice faith feel. So, burn him alive, boil him, crucify him in the ocean, drown him. There's also a thing called the pit, where they give you a little cut, like right here. They don't hit the artery, just a little cut. And then I think they tie some shit around your neck so you can barely breathe, and so the wound won't bleed out too quickly. Then they hold you upside down, they tie your feet, and they dangle you upside down, and they lock your head in the hole, and you stay there until you die, one drop of blood at a time. So it's just dripping down into their faces, and it is excruciating. By the end of the movie, they're trying to get Andrew Garfield to fucking renounce his faith, and he's screaming at the Japanese followers of his that are in the fucking pit. He's like, renounce. There's a Japanese word for it, I can't remember what it is, but it's like, do it. Like, say the thing. And the Inquisitor is like, oh, what are you talking about? They already renounced their faith. They already completely bailed on their faith. We're doing this because we can kill peasants all day. We've been doing it. We can kill, like, if we kill these 4, there's 100 more tomorrow. It's not doing any good. We need you, the priest, the fucking white guy, the fucking dude who came from a different country over here. We need you to renounce your faith, say there is no God, so that people will fucking stop believing in your bullshit religion. So these innocent people who were dying and have been here for days, only you're going to save them. You're the only one. And the only way to do it is to step on a picture of Jesus. Like, yeah. So, I already said Andrew Garfield's great. My favorite moment of his performance, and it's fucking harrowing. And it's the kind of thing where the wrong audience is going to laugh nervously at it, because it's a little bit, it's very raw. At one point, he's seen like everybody die. He's been separated from Andrew. Andrew Garfield's been separated from Adam, whatever his fucking name from Star Wars. Savage? Yes. It's on the poster. Adam Savage is the fucker from Mythbusters. What's his name? Adam, whatever. Andrew Garfield's on his own. He's seen fucking everybody die. He's been wandering around for days. He hasn't really eaten. He gets this fish that's so fucking salty it dehydrates him even more. He goes to a river and sees his face, his reflection. His hair is all fucked up, his beard super long. And the face, the reflection in the water, transforms into a picture of Jesus that he saw growing up. And he's not crazy, he's not having a vision. Camera rated in January. Fucking Texas. So, what was I saying? I was talking about the tour de force acting performance of Andrew Garfield. He is fucking amazing in it. My favorite bit of acting he's done ever, and my favorite bit of acting in the movie. He's at a point in the story where he's been separated from Adam Driver. He's seen people crucified in the ocean and be fucking berated with waves. He's completely isolated and alone. He hasn't eaten anything in days. A buddy of his, the same fucker who keeps showing back up to be absolved and then fucking everything up, gives him some fish that's so salty, like he gets food in his stomach, but like A, that can make you nauseous when you haven't eaten, and B, the saltiness fucks him up even more. So he goes to the stream to get some water, and he's looking in the water and sees his reflection, and the reflection morphs into like a wood carving, not a wood carving like a statue, but like a wood carving picture of Jesus that he saw as a little boy. Like, it was seen early in the movie. It was the kind of thing that, like, it was the first image of Jesus, of Christ, that he saw, and it was that image that kind of brought him into the faith. It made him realize that he wanted to spend his life as a priest, that he wanted to join the seminary. So the water transforms, his reflection turns into that of Jesus, and you get the idea throughout the movie that he doesn't really feel like he's seeing visions. He understands he's fucking exhausted, and the image fades back to his face, which is distorted because it's water and it's moving. And he starts making these weird, like, kind of faces. And then he just starts laughing maniacally. Like, it's the kind of acting that you haven't seen in a movie, American movie anyway, in a long time. It's the kind of shit that, like, actors that you know have been fucking awake for 3 days straight. Actors that you know have been pushed to their fucking absolute breaking point to get to a specific moment. It reminds me of like De Niro in the jail cell at the end of Raging Bull, where he's fucking punching the wall. It reminds me of Pacino at the end of Dog Day Afternoon when he's on the phone. Famously that was like 36 takes because they wanted that level of exhaustion. It's a level of mania and exhaustion and ridiculousness that I haven't seen an actor perform in quite some time, and it doesn't feel phony or false. The wrong audience member is going to laugh at it because it is so fucking extreme, and it's not. You're almost kind of supposed to laugh at it, I think, because it's like Jesus, like you. This priest Andrew Garfield's character is so steadfast in his beliefs. To see him kind of crack a little bit, it's almost a relief. To see him laughing fucking hysterically, you get the sense that in his moments of madness, he's having a release from like just the daily existence he's been having in Japan. It is fucking amazing, that moment. His performance is great. He was nominated for Hacksaw Ridge, but this kicks the shit out of that performance. It's amazing. My buddy Ramon that I saw it with, who you'll meet, he's going to be in my top 10 movies of the year video, planning on that anyway. He didn't like Andrew Garfield. He just never got into it. Like Social Network he enjoyed, but like never really thought that kid was a good actor. And he saw him in Hacksaw and Silence. We watched Silence together. And he was like, to go from off the radar, no opinion, don't like the guy, to being like one of my favorite actors, to work with two respected directors, like he's having a good year, Andrew Garfield is. So, love that acting moment. Also, of course, it's in Japan, so there's a lot of mangled English from the Japanese people, there's a lot of mangled Japanese from the priests. But there is a character who works for the High Inquisitor. The High Inquisitor being an old motherfucker in fancy-ass robes who just like, it's my job to stomp Christianity out. Every idea, every plan, every torture device, it's his ideas. And he speaks English a little bit, but he has an underling who is the translator. That dude, give him a supporting actor nomination because he's so cold and relentless and like charming. He's great. And the dude who plays the High Inquisitor is like, he makes these fucking choices, like just in the way he slumps down in his fucking chair. Like he's this little old gnarled little Japanese guy. The acting is solid throughout, which leads me into my issue with the movie, which is Liam Neeson's not even trying. He does show up at the end, doesn't even bother to do a Portuguese accent. He's just fucking Irish. And he's got a long monologue about the nature of faith, specifically the nature of faith in Japan. And his point is interesting. His point is that these Japanese people they've been ministering to, they never had an understanding of Christianity as it was intended. The word for God, when they first came there, was told to them by translators, and it literally translates to the Son. So his argument is, these men and women of faith who are dying for beliefs, they don't even understand what paradise is. They don't understand what hell is. They don't understand what God, Jesus, the Holy Trinity, because in Japanese culture at the time, there was no such thing as the afterlife. There was no such thing as spirituality in that way. So his argument to Andrew Garfield is like, you are dying for nothing. Like, you're suffering for nothing. These people don't understand it. And it's a compelling argument. And Andrew Garfield in that scene, hearing his fucking man he's been looking for years, months, however long it's been, hearing that dude say all this shit, watching his face crumble and how he fucking steadfastly like fights against it, it's really good. He says, "Oh, Father, no, I can't even call you Father anymore. Like, you're not that man." Liam Neeson doesn't really try very much. It reminded me quite a bit of Qui-Gon Jinn, just kind of blanding it up, which is a shame because his big scene happens like 2 hours and 10 minutes into the movie. Like, we've been on the journey for a bit at this point, so it would have been good for that scene to have more of an impact, but luckily Andrew Garfield saves the day. I could talk about the ending and the spoiler and the whole thing. It's really, go see it if you're interested. If you're not interested, you don't want to see it, then you don't really give a shit about the ending, I don't think. Except to say that dude who's been showing up 3-4 times, you know, he'll show up, fuck somebody over, renounce his faith, come back, beg to be absolved, fuck people over, renounce his faith, run off, come back, over and over again. And like, it starts to get tedious. It felt very parable-ish, but it's supposed to be tedious. And Andrew Garfield, by the time he shows up like the 5th time, he's just like, fuck. this guy again. It's my job. Like, I believe he wants to. Okay, fucking, you're forgiven. Yeah. By the time he shows up the last time, it is a really powerful scene, and the final images of the movie are really powerful. It's a good movie. Last thing I'm going to say is, on 2 separate occasions in the movie, and they waited for it. It's like I said, it's a very dry movie. There's no score. It's all nature sounds. In 2 separate occasions in the movie, and they save it, all of the sound is pulled out. Everything. And it is, like, for like a 6-minute sequence. It is harrowing. It is emotional. It's riveting, and it's genius the way he did it. Both times. The first time, of course, being like, fuck, what the fuck? It's a hell of a thing. The fact that Scorsese didn't get a nomination is a bit of a crime, but that's Scorsese's career, essentially. He always gets robbed. Except for The Departed. Yeah, The Departed. So, yeah, it is a hell of a movie. Like I said in one of my other videos, I've made, or maybe it was this one, I've been talking for a while, and I had to turn the camera off, and I had some drinks. I made my top 20 list for the year already. I'm watching more stuff, so it will change, presumably. Not just what I'm going to add to it based on what I see, but most likely my feelings are going to change and movies are going to switch places in the order. As of right now, Silence is my number 10 movie of the year, but it's tied with 2 other ones because I don't like it very much. I mean, it's a great fucking movie, and it moved me, and it's powerful, and it's a masterpiece, probably, but it's not really fun. It's not enjoyable. So it's low on the list, so it's kind of tied for 10th place with other movies that also have flaws. Talking about it here, though, in this review made me kind of rethink it, so I might have to go look at my list and bump it up a bit above more fun movies that I saw this year, comedies and action flicks and stuff like that. The point is, it is a pretty fucking astounding movie, so go watch it if you've seen it. If you admire Scorsese, if you're a cinephile, go see it. It's not like, don't take your friends out to the theater, it's not that. Honestly, wait for Blu-ray, DVD, Netflix, whatever, so you can pause it, smoke a cigarette, go for a walk, like, just get a break from it. That might be the best way to watch the movie. I will say, when you're in the movie theater and you're trapped, and you're there, and you're dark, and you're isolated, and you can't get up, and you can't pause it, it is a fucking hell of an experience. Honestly, now I think about it, it's kind of the best experience I had in the movie this year. Not in a best as in I enjoyed myself, but like most powerful experience I had in a theater this year. With the exception of Darth Vader in that fucking hallway. That is the best moment of the year, hands down. The movie's not even in my top 10, but I love Darth Vader in that hallway. So yeah, I guess I'm done talking about Silence. Thank you for listening to me ramble on. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. George Efta is my name. Talking about movies is my game. That's not true. Writing movies is my game. You can find some of my screenplays at adolescentconception.wordpress.com. I'm a writer. I don't just talk about movies for fun. I do that, but I also make my own. I'm trying to. So find me on the Instawebs. Tell me what you think about stuff. As far as this video is concerned, comment about your favorite religious movies, maybe? I'm not really sure what to talk about with this movie. I don't really get a lot of comments or a lot of views, but just in case, keep the politics and the religious talk out of the comments if you can. This is not a... This video is so not about getting into an argument about which faith is best. So, try and avoid that kind of shit if you can. Ramon may talk about it a bit when we get to our top 10 movies of the list here. When we left the theater, he really had an issue with it because of the Christian aspect of it, the faith aspect of it. And he was saying, like, I don't want to review it on camera. I'm trying to get him on camera to review something. He's like, I don't want to review that movie because I feel like I'm going to say some shit that I shouldn't. And I talked to him a week later, and he was like, no, it's settled now. But, like, it gets you, for being a very stark, slow, methodical kind of movie, it really gets your fucking blood pumping. Like I said, I recommend going to watch the Cinema Snob, the Midnight Screenings review with Brad Jones. Him and his buddy talk about it for a good 40 minutes or something like that. That'll give you an example of, like, what, other than me, like, what people think of this movie. It's a crime it was robbed of all the nominations it was robbed of, but what are you going to do? Anyway, so, thanks for listening to me. I'll see you next time with what will undoubtedly be a more fun movie. Although I am watching Manchester by the Sea right now, which is not happy either. Anyway, I'll see you in the next review. Thank you for watching. Bye.